when I left the corporate world, I had decided that I had 30 good years. I enjoyed it a lot, but through the mergers and the buyouts and all that sort of thing, now I didn't want to go back to that. I wanted to do something different. And that great philosopher Yogi Berra said that when you come to a fork in the road, you take it. Now that's true up to a point. You can't stand and look at the fork in the road. You have to take it. But which way you go does make a difference. And I just decided I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial, and I just began to think about what do I really want to do outside the walls. And that's where this picture comes in. Because I like art, and I found this picture, and I hung that in my little office, and that was a day of reflection for me. I sat there and I looked at it, and I thought, you know what? Everybody's going to the 99 that are in the meadow, the sheep there. But there's these sheep on the ledge. They're the ones that need help. And my prayer was very short. Where are these people? You know, show me. And out of that, I bought a building where there was, the bottom turned into an art gallery, because I always liked art. And I met an artist that had done a lot of work on the East Coast. She had run a gallery. She said, it's a wonderful gallery. You could put this anywhere, but you're in the wrong place. You don't have that kind of clientele here for this gallery. That was another fork in the road, because not to her, I just thought, I don't think I should do this anymore. And I looked at that space and I thought of the people, diverse people all over the neighborhood of our city. And I thought, I wonder if we could engage with the community. And then I thought of my good friend Mike. And I thought, if anybody can make something happen, it'll be him. So I called him. And he came over, and I showed him the space, and I said, do you think you could do something with this? And then after we began to discuss it a little bit, the only philosophy I could bring to it is that what I believe is, if you believe something, start small, start where you are, start now. And based upon that, that was enough. And now Paul Harvey can tell the rest of the story.
When Phil called and I had that message, my first thing is I said, I need to listen to those that are older than me, that have been around the block a few times. There's probably some wisdom in there. And so after I was introduced as this pastor for community engagement, the reality was, inside I was, I don't know if I can say clueless, but I was not sure what I would do. I think Phil knew I wasn't sure what he could read me, and he knew that here's a boy that needs some help. And so I really wasn't sure what to do, and I was looking for friends, and here was a potential friend. And so that was the beginning of it. And the part about what to do, I can remember in those early days when we had opened James Place, and there was maybe 1 or 2 people coming a week at best. Those were some days that were really very nerving. I was very nervous about it and wondering if this was really going to work or not. And so I went to Phil on one of those days as I was having a bit of a pity party, thinking I need to go get some wisdom. So I went to Phil. I said, Phil, it's not going so well, and no one's coming, and oh my gosh, are you sure this is going to work? And pick me, I was looking for some kind of cheerleader, and Phil said, I got something for you. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be good. Oh, if I would have had a notepad, I would have been ready to write this down, because these are going to be some words of wisdom. And he said, Mike, here's what you got to remember. Start where you are, start small, and start now. And literally, he got up and he turned around and he left and he walked out. And I'm thinking, that's it? That's all I get for wisdom, is start where you are, start small, start now. But I would tell you, those words, few as they were never truer. And those have been words that have really been a real compass for me in terms of knowing how to handle things, where to start. We live in a world that is all about bigger, better, faster, shinier. And sometimes there's something to be said for starting small and starting simple, and as Phil showed with that picture, looking for the individual, the sheep, and not worrying about big numbers and big splashes and just being simple and just trusting who God brings to you and responding that way.
But there's tremendous resources within the body of Christ and those that are available to help those. And that could be any walk of life, and that's what I found.
Just slip this on. Make sure we get this
We talked about starting small, and my first thought was, I can do small. And so for us, starting small was finding Lynette
Feels
and the
fine
other
so far.
ladies that were doing
Alright,
blood
so
pressure
we're gonna go
screening. They were back in the crying rooms, I think it was, and truth of it was, I felt like they probably didn't have a lot of people coming to them, and just as I felt like I didn't have a lot of friends, I didn't think they had very many friends, and so we were made for each other.
111 over 7.
And so those ladies came
Sounds
faithfully
good. You wanna watch
every
your
Tuesday and
visuals,
Thursday
pop
from
up.
11 to 1, week in and week out, doing blood pressure screening, and they never complained. They just showed up and were present, but they were the ones that really helped kick it off because they opened up doors by just showing up. Their presence opened up doors with the community.
If I could just make a comment on that. You know, when you give stories about what happens out there, outside the walls, so to speak, what Mike was saying, and was in it having a lunch, and the waitress was visiting with us a little bit and wanted to chat a little bit, and we did. There weren't too many people in there. And she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I have some properties and do different things." "Oh, where are your properties?" I said, "Well, I got some up on Broadway." And she said, "By James Place?" And I said, "Yes. As a matter of fact, that's my." "Oh," she said, "thank God for James Place. I came from Chicago. My 2 kids, I didn't know where to go, what to do. And somebody says, you ought to try James Place."
Wow.
And they helped me. I found a job. I got an apartment. I love living here. Thank God for James Place.
Wow. What a great story.
People will ask, well, what do you do there? What goes on there? And I love to tell people, well, we don't have it. There's no money, there's no food, there's no clothes, there's no bus passes. But people come. And the reason people came that we saw is did not exist, and a gap in the community was to have people that would sit there, listen to their story, extend to them the dignity that they deserve, being created in the image of God, to listen to their story. Sometimes you'd pray with them. Sometimes you would connect them to a resource in the community. A lot of times you would just listen. And you know what? Something happens in those moments when 2 people are together, and they would leave better than they were before. Some would come back, some you didn't see again, and a lot of those people were the ones that really began to move James Place forward with, and really took ownership in a sense of it being a place that helped others in a non-toxic way, that with dignity always being at the forefront.
I would just say that one of the things, too, is I give a lot of credit to the people that have been assembled there as volunteers and workers and staff at James Place. Because we all got our good stories, but they have to be able to take the disappointing stories, the ones that have done well and now they're locked up for some reason or another. So you got to be willing to keep going, realizing that not all stories are a success at this particular time, but it could be later.
Sure.
And not everybody can do that. And I do give a lot of credit to the people that have ended up at James Place and hung in there,
Yeah.
stayed there. A lot of longevity.
Something I'd add in the very beginning of the story when Phil first called me, at the time that he called and I was in this role as this pastor for community engagement, there was a book that I had been reading at the same time, and it was called The Externally Focused Church. And there was a question in the book that was very formative for me, and it lined up when Phil called. And the question in the book was this: it said, if your church vanished, just poof, disappeared, would your community weep? And as I thought of that question, and I thought of downtown Waukesha, 3.1 miles away from downtown with all kinds of folks down there, I could answer that question very quickly, and the answer was no. They don't even know this place exists. And I thought to myself, shame on us as a church to be here with these resources, all these people, and it is incumbent upon us to go to them. And so that was a very formative thing. Here was an opportunity for us to be in the community. And it's not about it being Elmbrook Church. I mean, the glory has to go to God. But it is about Christians going to where the people are. And so today, as I look and see all the things that are going on around there in the community, the question, if James Place vanished today, would the community weep? And I can tell you without a doubt, it would. And that is because of all the people that have come through there, and the ones that are really being transformed, it's those that are going to serve there. It's not those that we think we're helping. They're the ones that are changing us as a church, and we're better for it. It's just only God, it's a thing that only God could do in that respect.